Fala pessoal, eu sou Marcelo Pereira e esse é mais um episódio do Vamos de Vendas, podcast criado para conectar visionários como você com um time de vendas de elite. E nesse episódio a gente mais uma vez elevou a barra. Tá tão um time de elite que a partir desse momento a gente vai gravar o episódio em inglês. Então se você está assistindo no YouTube, tem um botãozinho ali para transcrever, então você vai poder ler a legenda em inglês, caso você não fale inglês. E aproveita, nesse botãozinho do lado tem um sininho. Então você toca no sininho, assina para receber as notificações e a partir desse momento a gente começa em inglês. I believe you know there's one thing called sales cycle. That's the time between first time you talk to a customer, you really try to approach them or start to prospect until they sign a contract. Sometimes it takes 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. But there's some case, it can take even 2, 3, 4, even 5, 6 years. How to manage a customer relationship on all this time, how many touch points, how you engage with the customer, make sure you're still making the sale and not losing so much money that the sale doesn't work anymore. That was we're gonna talk today. How to sell to big accounts, enterprise accounts. And I'm very proud to receive today to talk about this, Denis Tassitano, which is CRO at SAP for Latin America. Denis, thank you very much for having you here.
Thank you, Marcelo. Let's talk about sales, a sport that I like, and let's do it.
Let's do it. And you might be asking, but Denis is Brazilian, lives in São Paulo, and I also live around here. Why you were speaking English? That's the question I'm going to ask you now, because I'm not here by myself. Even more proud, or as equally proud, we're going to have Aaron Ross, author.
Good catch, by the way.
Good catch?
You said even more proud. Oh, wait, no. I'm just equally proud.
It's not an easy thing to do in Portuguese. Imagine in English managing you guys.
Yeah.
It's just
Your English is far better than my Portuguese.
Whoa, let's exchange then. I'll take you in Portuguese place, you take me in English place, and we're done. Sure. And it's going to be a very interesting day, and I'm proud that you have these two guys here. Follow us, and we're going to start now. Denis, first question I want to ask is, I've been following you and understanding how you think about sales, and a lot of times I've seen you saying sales as a project. So first, I would like you to introduce yourself, but also explain a little bit more for us. And Aaron, I mean, feel free to make as many questions as you want, but we're going to explore you, make a lot of questions to you. What is sales as a project? I mean, what is the connection on these two areas? Please.
Yeah. Well, thank you. As you said, I live in Brazil. I live in São Paulo, but I manage an operation in SAP, a Concur operation. It's the name of the product in all Latin America. So yes, I talk a lot about managing as a project because process is an ongoing thing. In project, it's a thing different. Project, it starts and has an end. So when we think about sales process for enterprise companies, it's completely different because you cannot sell the same way in a company and the other company. So you have to think about different stakeholders, different times, a period. Sometimes a company close their fiscal year in one period, the other company in the other period. This will be different in your sales cycle. And that's the reason why when everybody asks me, what do you think about a perfect or close to perfect salesperson? I said, you have to be a project manager because you have to manage as a project, understanding the different scenarios in the different companies. Sometimes not a huge sale. I'm not talking only about $2 million sale. Sometimes it's a small sale, but in a big company. And you have to manage differently. So you cannot think like a sales process, a machine of sales. You have to think different. You can automate this. Yes, you can use, and we're going to talk about this, you can use the tools that you use in a automated process, but you have to think as a project manager.
Sure. And Aaron, when I went design this episode and you think about putting you guys together, it's going to be great because I want to hear your perspective on this kind of thing because I know, of course, you can have a sales machine and you can have a process and everything, but to run it through 3-4 years sometimes. And first, I'm going to make a lot of questions about it, but
yeah.
I want to hear your perspective of how she...
I like Denis's. I mean, I don't know if I have much to say. Well, look, the idea of a sales machine only really applies when you have generally, more short, more transactions selling faster, which might be 6 months, it might be 30 days, maybe 9 months. So if you think about multi-year sales, the word machine just doesn't work, right? I like projects. It's a great way to think about, a long-term project where you have different people doing different things and you need to keep track. So first, I think, there can be a hard period where you start to do large projects or you want to do large projects and they're going to be lumpy. It doesn't matter who you are. You can't forecast these very well and you can't control them. I think a lot of this idea of you can always shorten your sales cycles. I think a lot of that is honestly made up and people are posting about things they think people want to hear. Sometimes things take years. And I think one of the hard things and most important is kind of judging of timing. There's a lot of hard things about long sales cycles, especially because you might have decision makers or your coach or people who you talk to one year that may be gone the next.
Yep.
But a lot is just about timing. Especially if you sell Concur or CRM, people don't change those systems every year. Not even every 3 years. Maybe every 5 years?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It might be sometimes it's longer, sometimes shorter. So it's saying, all right, if I'm targeting these kinds of companies, or we as a company, we're targeting these companies, and they've got replacement cycles, which might be 3 to 7 years. Realistically, how many companies are going to be even in the window of being open to replacing? There might be this window of, okay, we'll talk about it, we'll think about it, maybe. But usually, especially these days, people have so much on their plate. If it's not urgent, they're probably not even going to think about it. So it's to spot the companies, kind of really learn more about where they are, who the people are, and where are they, when could that window open? Is it this year? Probably not. It might be next year. What would it take for that window of considering changing to open? Is probably one of the things that I don't think gets discussed enough, because a lot of executives and salespeople and sales consultants and so on don't like to realize the fact that a lot of this is out of your control.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if it's out of my control, I can't really feel like I can control things, or I can't sell clients on something, or I can't tell my salespeople or my executives. It's out of your control. Let's acknowledge that. So I think that's the thing that doesn't get talked about enough, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great, because if you look at deeply enough, there's a lot of things in sales that's completely out of our control.
I
we
know.
control just a little bit of it, and you have to live with that. But one thing that you said I want to now bring to Denis, because you mentioned, and I took note here of 4 big challenges of sales to these big accounts. One that I got was set the correct target companies, because sometimes they don't even are on the open window to sell.
Yeah.
So the other one I got, which is I want Denis to talk about, is inspire these buyers to take action. Because if it's not urgent, it's not a big deal. It's not something that impacts in some way. They don't even move. People that change and manage costs all over this long time of sales cycle. So let's start by setting the target. How the people that are listening to us can understand from you little tips, and it's not little tips, but information on how they can set the target more properly.
Yeah, you have to know your product. You have to know your customer, and seek for the compelling event, the compelling reason why they're buying. Okay, why they're buying now? Because sometimes you don't have to buy right now. It's not a huge pain. It's not something that you're obligated to buy. And I think the thing missing about controlling the cycle is the agreements. Okay, when we talk about project management, we have the schedule for our project, and you have the agreement with the client. For example, you're building a house, so the architect comes here saying, this is the project. It's going to take you 6 months to get in the house, and you're not going to take 8 months more, and that's it.
2 years of planning.
Yeah, 2 years. But you have the agreement. Okay, I understand this. So I know that it's 6 months, it's not 1 month. We do this for the implementation phase. Okay. But we don't do this for the sales cycle. So when you build the agreement, you show to the customer, it's okay to you, this period of 6 months about sales cycle. He can say, no, it's not okay because I have to buy in the next year, for example, it's not okay because I need to implement in 3 months. So I have to buy in 3 months. We don't show this type of agreements. So that's the reason why all the things that we built after the sale with the Gantt and all that stuff, we have to build prior to the sale and have the agreements. It's okay to you to see this demo 2 weeks from now, because I do have engineers that I have to engage in this demo. I cannot engage like this because I have a lot of clients. So I have to fly to another country, or I have to fly to another region. So I have to prepare myself. So are you okay with this schedule? And they say yes or no. Because sometimes you find a gap there. I can say, okay, Dennis, can you be with me tomorrow? I say, no, I'm on vacation. So I'll be back in 15 days. Oh, okay.
Except for podcasts.
Yeah, for podcasts, I'm here.
nice work.
I'm on vacation right now, but yeah, for podcasts, I'm here. So
this is fine.
I love
The answer was perfect until we make a fun, and we're
Just
keep doing
talking
this.
here.
So you have to establish those agreements. So sometimes you have a sales guy trying to sell to me this week. And this week, he didn't know I'm on vacation. So I'm out. And but I'm trying to, no, you have to talk, because we're not trying to sell against someone. We're trying to sell.
To get them to do something they may not want to do.
Yeah, that's the reason. I think you want to buy, you need to buy. So let's make an agreement here. It's a range that we have to make, because sometimes I'm dealing, I have to negotiate, and I'm against you. No. So let's put the sales cycle in front of everyone and have all the agreements. Can you sign tomorrow? Oh, I cannot sign tomorrow because I have the legal guys that will take 2 weeks to find if the legal part it's okay. Oh, let's start drawing.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky, yeah. So this is the thing that it's missing in the, and I think 90% of the sales teams that I met.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. I travel teaching a lot of companies, and I mean, it's such a level of sophistication that you bring that it's not easy to find anywhere. Aaron, what you see?
Oh no, I like the fact that you said to establish agreements, right? Which is a bit different than trying to get people to, buy. Which again, you can't with big companies. You can either manipulate or encourage when it's small business, like one person. But when you have a big company and it's complicated. I have a friend who used this phrase today. I got him, and I'm like, oh, this is a great phrase. He's doing, complicated, big projects. He said he's walking with elephants. Right? It's like, oh, wow. Did you come up with that? And I don't know if he did or not, but that makes sense. Where you can't push the elephant. You can nudge, and you can kind of guide, and just be patient. And you're, walking with elephants. And I feel like that's fits, having a family too, and in relationships and big deals, It's not like you can manipulate or force, or you can try to be clever. And sometimes it works, a lot of times it doesn't. But communication, establishing agreements, trying to say, does this work and why not? And also being able to challenge them. I never read the book Challenge or Sale, but the principle makes sense, which is if you're really trying to help a client, just like if you're trying to help a friend, and they have their reasons, which could be real, could be excuses. I'm too busy, or I can't do this, or can't do that. And let's think about that. Have you thought about this, that, or the other? And so, challenge them in a way that you're trying to help them. Right? So the best thing is, can you help yourself by helping them get what they want? And I think ultimately, the best kinds of sales, in my opinion, is that when everybody wins. Right, and I know that a lot of salespeople are quite needy, because the investors pass down this neediness and desperation, whatever the word is you want. You can call aggressive goals, but a lot of those goals are just made up. But this kind of neediness, and that goes from the CEO to the head of sales down to the salespeople to the customer, and it takes a lot of emotional intelligence and experience to separate that pressure and be with the customer and say, look. Yeah, you can't do it this year. I totally get it. Well, let's talk about next year. What would be most helpful to you now? And to focus on customer success it's kind of like this fine line to separate the pressure from the company and the quota or maybe bills at home from this conversation with the customer where you're really trying to help them. And the goal will be, yes, to complete a deal here and there's money that exchanges. But the best kind of sales, including with big deals, is when you're focusing on their success.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if everybody on the same page. What comes to my mind when you say that, and sometimes we try to help someone, but even our intention is good, and even talking about sales, we have in some way to inspire that people to move. And my question is, how in that environment with big accounts, even knowing that we have a solution that it's going to help that customer, he's going to achieve success, we have in many other cases, how can we inspire this person to take action? Because someone can help me to work out. Yeah. But as you can see, it's not working. So
you have to understand the KPIs. Okay, for example, my type of product, when I will talk to a CFO, I know it's a different KPI than I'm talking to the CPO. And it's a different KPI talking to the CEO. So when you understand the stakeholders, and this go to project management, you're going to understand your stakeholders, the KPIs, because sometimes we're trying to sell what we think for us is the best thing. So
what we think for us, and what we think for them.
Perfect. Yeah. So for you, when we talk to the CEO, it's a different scenario. For example, if you show dashboards, okay, this is good. But when you're talking to the guy in the process part, you have to talk more user-friendly part and all that stuff. When you talk to the CFO, they want benchmark, they want ROI, the return on the investment. So you have to know what you're selling for who you're selling. And sometimes, no, I'm going to sell this and only this, and that's it. And I'm going to talk the same. It's just like buying a house. You're going to buy a house. Your kid's going to think one thing for the house. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to look for the pool. I'm going to look for playground, all that stuff.
My own room.
Yeah, my own room. You're thinking about others, if it's close to a school or something. So you have
ice cream shop.
Yeah. So you have to understand the things that are going, the things that are going to move these guys, the guy want to sign. Also the company, what this company is looking for. And then go for the compelling event, the compelling reasons, and all that stuff.
You talk about this compelling event and reasons the second time. If you can just explain a little bit more about it, because I think it's very interesting for us.
So let's put in the personal life. So I'm flying tomorrow. I don't have a bag. I have 20 hours to buy a bag. This is a compelling event. Okay, this is an event. They're gonna force me to buy something. We have some rules, regulations, especially in Brazil, changing a lot.
Absolutely.
So in taxes, sometimes the government says, you have till this day to be set with these rules, this regulation. So you have the compelling event, not to buy. Sometimes you have to buy prior this to have the thing live at this. So this is the compelling event. Well, the compelling reason is I want something. Okay, probably. That's the reason that I know I want this, I need this. It's not an event that I want this. So for example, I have to go to the gym. Okay, this is a good reason. But I'm not dying right now, or I don't have to go to the beach right now and I have to show my body. So I don't have the event for that. So it's a good reason, it's not an event. Okay.
Yeah, and I completely understand. You talk about the gym.
Deadlines.
There was certain time that you need to act. And the history about the gene, there was one time I had a heart problem. Then I went to the doctor. He said, hey, you're going to need to take this medicine. And I was 30-something, 32. I said, well, come on, take this medicine for the rest of your life. I'm not going to take it. And I just said this in front of the doctor. I said, I'm not going to take it. He said, oh, really? You're not going to take it? So you're going to die. He said, you have more? Give me more. Because it's such a thing so important for that person at that right moment, a specific moment, that you have to take action.
Yeah. I mean, one more example, I do like the personal stories because I think they're more impactful, and I'm very public about the fact that, I was making some money as a consultant part-time until I got married and had kids. And then I'd already written the predictable revenue book. I hadn't published it. And getting married, and I've got kids, I've got, a new baby coming along, and we need more space. We need to move to bigger space, bigger bills. I'm like, I gotta publish the book, get a business partner, raise my prices, nail my niche. That forced me to make a bunch of changes that I've been, they weren't like, I didn't have to do them before. And again, in a big company, think about how hard it is. And how often do you realize and really think how hard it is to buy at a big company?
Oh my God.
Like, I'm trying to buy something, how many people I need to, wrangle, even if I'm a CEO, right? Or even if I'm an executive, like I have to get a bunch of people on board and like understand the IT and the users and all, like get the budget, and a pain in the ass. Right? So it's hard for that to happen. So the compelling event not only can align a lot of people's interest to like make something happen, because suddenly it has to happen.
Yeah. And sometimes, all the times, doesn't matter if you're a great salesperson, if it doesn't have the compelling event, you're not going to sell. So sometimes, what I'm doing here, I said, you're not going to sell. So I'm not a huge car fan. I don't like cars. I like to drive, but I don't like cars. So you can hammer me with whatever you want. I will not going to buy a car. Okay. So it doesn't matter if I have the budget, doesn't matter. So you're not going to sell.
You have a great deal. You got the best car. You got the fastest.
Doesn't matter.
It's electric.
And it's not a problem. It's not your problem. Okay, so you have to deal with this. If the company is good, but they're not going to buy it right now. So it's not your problem. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm a good sales guy, so I have to always be selling, and it's not like that.
Yeah, and one thing, I have two kids. Not like you, just you. And there's one 10 years old. He's such a fan of a specific car right now, but it's so in a deep love with the car that every time we're driving in the street, every time he see the car around, he comes and say the name of the brand. I'm not gonna say here, but it's like 3, 4, 5 times in a trip, 35 minutes from my house to the school. And I didn't like that car. Being honest, he was not in my radar at all. But after 3 days, 3 weeks, 7 weeks of that kid is talking on my head about that car, he started to call my attention. And man, now we're starting to look for that car. That's the reason. It was not a compelling event, but then such a reason, and one stakeholder, I would say, in my family that started to call my attention.
Junior stakeholder.
But it puts a lot of pressure. And my question is, how can we find in this enterprise deals the right stakeholder, how to map them, and how to make sure that they are repeating ourselves in the company in order to create this desire of action, right?
You have to build the power map of the company.
Power map.
Yeah, you have to build the power map of the
never heard about it.
Yeah, I can send you a good example of power map that we use.
You can send, but I'll also take a note.
Sounds like, can I order that off Amazon? Power map now.
I was like, please order 3 power maps. I need 3 power maps.
So you have to understand the chart of the company, because sometimes there's people that you will not access, but can make some damage in your sales cycle.
Oh yeah.
So you have to understand all the map, build the power maps, understand who you have access, who you do not have access, and how you're gonna have access to those people. Okay, for example, I don't have access to Aaron. I want to sell to him. I saw that he's gonna be here today. I'm gonna wait outside the building when he go out to talk to him, or I will attend to an event, or I saw on LinkedIn that we have common connections. So I'm gonna reach out to one connection to try to talk to him. So I only know what I know when I know what I don't know.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the reason why you have to build the entire map and say, okay, this is the entire company map. Because in some point, someone can come in and destroy my 6 months, 2-year sales cycle. So you're selling to sometimes someone in my team. And I used to work for other company that had problems with this product. So if something happened and I have to sign, you have to reach out to me prior the sales cycle reach to me. So that's the reason why I have to build the map and the power map. So who's in charge and when this person gonna come in the cycle.
Wow. That's a power map.
That's a power map.
I like the power map because I hear a lot of times from classmates and other friends, well, but it was everything good with the deal. Suddenly, someone bought from a competitor and that person was not even in the radar. Nobody was
Yeah.
talking about it, but had the power to make the change.
Yeah, it's hard because you can never get it perfectly. Right? You just kind of do your best, to get as much as you can, but you can't avoid surprises.
Yeah, because sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't ask.
Yeah,
This is the
at least
problem.
ask. Yeah, if you don't
Perfect.
ask,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you
If-
don't ask.
And you don't know, but if you don't ask, you never know.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Because
Wow,
even
great.
like the bigger the company, the more likely even the people you ask won't know.
Yes.
Like who the other people are, and this just can be a mystery to them as well.
We had processes and the CIO said, I can sign in 1 month. Okay. And I reached out to the COO. She said, no, we can't. This guy is new in the company. He don't know all the process, even being the CIO. So she built the entire roadmap to close that we call roadmap to close. This is the process that we have to take inside our company to buy, because it's a huge company, have to go to England, blah, 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 blah. So even sometimes the C-level are not completely aware of the company's buying process.
Wow. And I really like the power map and the roadmap to close, just great tools.
Yeah.
My question is, you don't live in a static role. Things change all day, every day. A CIO maybe don't change so fast, but regular employee of a director down, average stays 1.5 years to 2.5 years most. And if the project is taking longer than that, how you manage this change?
Yeah. It's just like a game. So when you have a movement, you have to understand all the scenario that you have right now. And then you have another movement and you have to understand the new scenario that you have right now. So if you build the entire map, if something changed, you have to rebuild the map. So it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think especially a lot of the bigger, people who've done bigger deals are really good about relationships. They're good about connecting with people, and they're probably good business people who can sell. Because when you're dealing with lots of different people, some people are going to want to be able to be friendly and chat, and they want to know about maybe personal topics, and some won't. They want to be a bit more cut and dried business. And so if you can kind of switch between, kind of read people a bit and kind of gauge what they're interested in, you do want to build a personal connection, right? Because ultimately a lot of this is based on trust, not just of the company brand and the product, but also who they're dealing with. And the more likely that you can build some trust with the people you are connecting with at a team level, because if I'm quarterbacking the project, I'm not necessarily the person talking to everyone, right? I might have other people in my team in customer success or like technology also engage. But the stronger the relationships are to the people, the more likely you can, when there is change, you can kind of adapt and be able to adapt with them to the new situation and get new information or to help them with a new plan.
Yeah. I'm a really fan of trust as a speed on the sales process. Not only speed, but also make it easier and smoother for everybody. But also trust is very related with authority. And one thing that I really would like to know is, you mentioned that before get married, before writing the book, we're on sales all the time. How was you sell before the book and now 10 years later? Being an authority, how much easier or harder, or what it impacts in sales?
Well, I think everyone has their thing that's important to them, their style. And for me, books are a thing for me. I'm not someone who likes to post a lot of content on social media.
Yep.
I'm not someone who only likes to kind of have like one-on-one conversations. I like those, but I especially like putting ideas into places and sharing them, especially through books. If I do webinars or talks, I do like that too. Webinars maybe not so much, but those are more ways to kind of crystallize my ideas before they go into a book or take them from a book and share them. So for me, I feel like I'm at my heart mostly like a book person. So that's kind of my thing. And for me, I knew, even a long time ago that I was going to write a book, and that would be the thing that helps me kind of create more trust in authority or audience versus me. I could have said, I'm going to go do lots of public speaking, or I'm going to do lots of online like YouTube videos, or I'm going to do lots of LinkedIn. That's just not who I am. So, yeah, of course, actually putting the book together, my ideas together into a place. I took probably like several years in putting the book together. It wasn't just writing. And in that time, doing consulting and kind of seeing how the ideas work with different companies and learning and speaking. So there's 5 years of just working with the ideas and work with companies and distilling down like kind of the most important ideas that were the most helpful into this book. So it felt very natural to do that and then to put it out there and to then have people come to me, because that's, as much as I did outbound prospecting at salesforce.com, and I'm more of a content, person. I'm more of a people person that way. And so I think there's lots of ways that people can go about creating relationships and sharing ideas. There's a million channels to do that. That's mine. So I think also to some people that, you want to find out what, as a salesperson, let's call it, resonates with you. Do you like to share, videos over your email? Or do you like to WhatsApp with people? Do you like to just do calls? Do you like to kind of post ideas somehow? Like finding your way that you can share ideas with people and build trust or build credibility. Do you like to talk about baseball? Or do you like to just talk about business? Or do you like to talk about the industry? Like finding your things helps you more naturally share with people. And because if you're excited about something, people will naturally be a bit more excited anyway. Yep. It doesn't matter what it is. Like I like hearing about people's hobbies because I've always kind of wanted a hobby, and for a long time I didn't have any. My hobby was having more and more kids, right? And
you did it good.
I did excellent at that. Yeah. I don't know if we have 10 children, 5 adopted and 3 biological together, and 2 from my wife's first marriage. But there's years where, especially like 20, late 20, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and so on. It's like, I'd love to have a hobby or some interest. I just don't have any energy to figure. I have no idea. But I'm always interested in people's hobbies. Like, do you have a hobby, Marcelo or Dennis?
I don't think I'm probably in the phase of having small kids and just taking care of them.
I feel that.
I have 2 hobbies. I have motorcycle. I love motorcycle.
How many motorcycles? Let's go.
2.5. 2.5 motorcycles because I have 2 in my garage and half in my wall in the apartment. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And the other one, I love kissing my son.
That's a great hobby. Yeah. I have this one too.
Yeah. 20 years old. he don't like it.
But then it's like funny. Yeah.
I said, "Oh, come on, Dad, stop." So I'm not kissing. Oh no, stop, Dad. So.
But mine on his stand, and he hates kissing him the same way. So don't worry.
Yeah, but I don't care.
Yeah. No, we love to make, especially our 15-year-old son, like kind of teasing him in public in front of his friends. Stop it, Dad. Or even at school, rolling up, "Hey, Maverick, come over here. How's it going?" And everyone else is kind of quiet. He's just like, "Oh my God, I hate you."
Disappear to put the head on the head like this.
That's the best. Yeah. So anyway, but again, I'm interested, or if I'm interested in like I've jigsaw puzzles and stuff, and so again, I go back. I'm a bit biased because one of my main themes now going forward, I've kind of left the sales world. Like I don't do sales consulting. My business and partnership here, but I'm not active in the sales consulting. And after having such a big family for so long, I'm just really, it's all to me about like emotional smarts and how people work together, and which is still related to sales and management and leadership. But I think it's so important towards navigating the world that's getting more complicated and busier, and there's like more options and more overwhelm and more uncertainty, and what do you do? So to me, kind of lost where I was going with this, but like that's a North Star for me is like kind of like people and emotional smarts and feelings and intuition, and using a lot of these other things to balance out all the technology that's being and the consequences of that, which is overwhelm, right? Anxiety, uncertainty.
Yeah.
To balance that out.
It's like kind of a reconnection or something like this.
Yeah, and so again, going back to, where it's like the people and how do you connect with people and care about people and build those relationships. And I think that's how a lot of salespeople, like higher end, always did it. And that has been over the years kind of, relationships and steak dinners, and now we need to automate things and technology. And like, well, I talked, who did I even talk to? There's going to do some company, they're like, "Hey, we're going to do steak dinners again." I'm like, yeah, like what's old is new again, because that's a way to like sit with people and talk about stuff that's, some business, but also stuff that's not business. It's how you kind of build relationships and get to know people. And
we start treating people as robots, and we're still humans. And then we figure out right now, we're still humans. So let's go back to basics.
Yeah, back to basics.
Wow, crazy, because we start this conversation when we talk about trust and then authority, and then it comes to connection with people, which is actually the cycle, right? If you can connect with people, we always build trust, and they can count on you, and you start to stop maybe being a pushy sales rep and start to be someone that they can count on. And that's how we build our life society.
I feel like for a lot of, when you're starting at sales, the first maybe many years, it can be a bit tricky because most people, they learn the skill, and Dennis mentioned this, of asking the uncomfortable questions. In a way, though, that's not, doesn't come off as kind of manipulative, but just more informational. Like, I'm trying to help. Like, do you have a budget, or how's your process work, or who else is involved? Like, is it raining out? I say ask the hard questions, but kind of like, how's the weather? Like, how's your budget process work?
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be. And I think there is a lot of fear, especially the younger generations, around asking hard questions, and they're scared of disrupting, of being salesy. It's like the word salesy can have a lot of negative connotations, unfortunately. In some places it deserves it, but it doesn't have to. It can be, a lot of companies need help buying because, again, it's so complicated, so hard, and they need help navigating this and to purchase, and they appreciate your help if you can help them. And just getting over the fear of asking difficult questions and challenging people, but again, in a helpful way, not in a I'm trying to get you to do what I want way, but in a helpful, like, hey, have you thought about this? Or are you sure? You may not say, are you scared about something? Choose your language, but have you thought about this? Or what about that? Or bringing new ideas. Like for me, I always like bringing new ideas and inspiring ideas, and that's just kind of my thing. But other people, like, if you like steak dinners, go for it. It's great.
And don't get us wrong, because we're in a sales environment. We have quota, we have all the pressure. So we're not saying, oh, I'm not going to sell, la, 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 la. It's not like that. No. But yes, you have to.
I called him. I asked about his kids, and, I guess.
Yeah.
We're not saying.
So
maybe just one step further on making questions.
Yeah.
Make sure
Yeah. It's not like, last thing is, I think you can think about a lot of, any relationship, especially like, whether you're married or even, it's a lot of times it can get easier if you learn how to ask harder questions, uncomfortable questions.
It always gets back to communication.
Or knowing when not to ask.
Oh, that's much more important.
Yeah, that's very important.
When you just need to sleep and wait for another day. Just a little keys, and that's okay.
Emotional smarts, like knowing when do you stick your hand into the the jaw of the lion, and you're like, it's a good time, versus when you're going to lose your hand.
If you don't know, you just come up without the hand. That's it. But you kind of talk about a little bit about the process, how we're now just, not really now, but just looking at automation and process and make everything like robot. And my perspective, and I want to hear for you, is sometimes the companies are so worried and getting money from investors and trying to be as efficient as possible.
The goals.
And just running like crazy. How can we, my question, you always get back to my questions, how can we manage costs? Because, of course, the state dinners and the relationship and take times in mapping, power map, all this is great. But does it fit in any company, any sales process? Or if not, how can we manage the budget all along of 3, 6 months, 1 year, whatever? Sometimes it takes more, right? Lembrando que esse podcast é um oferecimento do Zoho CRM, software para gestão do relacionamento com o cliente, com preços acessíveis e uma ampla gama de recursos. A escolha ideal para líderes de vendas que querem ter mais eficiência e processos mais inteligentes. Acesse zoho.com/CRM e saiba mais.
What I said is, sometimes people are hearing us saying, oh, Dennis, you're for SAP, a huge company. I'm from a small company. If you're from a smaller company or a small company, okay, you have to manage more the things that me, because my company has money to deal with all the costs that you have. If you want to, I have to fly tomorrow, I can fly tomorrow, no problem. I don't need to prepare anything. Yes, I do need, but...
You get a bag.
Yeah. But but when you have a small company, you have to manage more the costs. So preparing yourself, doing the power map, sometimes you're going to work more in the beginning, but in the cycle, you're going to be aware of all your costs. Because I'm going to prepare here, and I know I have to fly 5 times to US. I know this. I'm not going to be caught in You know, oh, I have to fly to US right now. No, I prepared for this. And if I don't have the money, I would try to figure out a different way to do things. But when I am not controlling nothing, I'm completely I don't have scope, I don't have budget, I don't know. So let's spend. And this is harder. So that's what I talk to sales team. Spend time preparing. That is a time that you're not going to spend right after, you know, when we start the cycle. So if you're a small company, you have to prepare more. You have to prepare more. I can fly right now to Copenhagen and not going to hurt SAP pocket. If I'm in a small company, going to hurt. Change the game. So that's the reason why I have to prepare myself. And even in larger companies, we have to prepare because you have budget, you have all the things that turns around, okay? So yes, prepare and invest time in preparation.
Okay, it makes total sense. I just want to go deeper into it on how to do it, because I understand that big companies in a certain way have a bigger budget and you can, prepare in advance. But how can you do it? I mean, really on a day-to-day basis, someone that's listening to us, for example.
Goes back to the project management.
Oh my God, yeah.
Goes back to the project management. You don't start to build a house without stopping and doing all the management part, the preparing part. You don't, let's go do it. It's not like that.
No, you're going to change so much. You're going to break walls multiple times and never going to get ready.
Even preparing going to cost you 20% more, 30% more. So everything goes back to project management. So when I talk to salesperson, say, Dennis, talk to me about a book or a class that I can take, they are always waiting to hear something like how to negotiate like an FBI person.
Yep.
Yeah.
How to negotiate like...
Give me the magic secrets.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Get you to buy. To speed up the sales cycle.
Yeah, that's it.
To be fair, I do think the one thing... You know, honestly, Dennis would know a lot more, but I feel like the only thing that really can speed up a sales cycle, the only thing is when you can, like... You know someone who's like the company director, like a real, you know, someone who owns the company or owner, CEO who has trust in you and they're willing to, you know, recommend it and move it along. I don't think there's anything else that can really, you know, make a big change in a sales cycle. Despite all the, the techniques and tricks. I think there's things you can do to slow down the sales cycle.
Oh, I can imagine.
Right?
Let's go over this.
Well, like, for example, you don't submit, the legal document early enough, or you don't kind of customize it for that big company in a way you think, they like to do it, or there's lots of things in legal you can do to really slow it down. That's one example. Yeah,
so if you prepare and you have trust, then you can speed up the sales cycle in a certain way, right? Because it's not going to be from 6 years to 2 weeks. No, it's going to be a little less, but with efficiency, right? That's what I got. I hope you got that.
And you have to have pipeline as well, because sometimes, this will take you a year. Doesn't matter. But when you don't have pipeline, you said, I have to sell this in a month.
It's not going to change anything.
Not going to change anything. It's your type of problem. It's your problem. Okay, so I don't have When you have, I said, okay, no problem, because I will have time to sell this in the right way in a year from now. Okay, so what I built a year ago to sell right now, that's the reason why you have to evaluate next quarter, rolling 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters from now. Because if you have your sales cycle as a year, taking a year to sell, right now, you have to know what you're going to sell a year from now.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're going to get there, you have nothing, an empty pipeline, right?
Yeah. And it's easier for them to fall out. Like, again, decision maker leaves, quits, but versus you're going to have more fallout for brand versus magical ones that pop up and suddenly, oh, wait, can we do this in 2 months? Those big, long deals rarely happen, if ever, like that.
And I think we can move to my last topic of the conversation would be what is the role of technology to, and I won't say speed up, but at least to manage the relationship with the customer. I mean, how you use it. I'm not asking tips and tricks anymore, but something that we can say that the audience would be, how would be the role of technology in that?
First, you have to use it. Because the first you have to, for example, let's take
you
CRM.
Don't have to have it. You have to use it.
Yeah, let's take
Let's say
CRM.
that someone used, I don't know, Zoho CRM.
I heard about it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was something like this. I remember.
Let's take the CRM. So we change a lot of territories. So I'm a sales guy. I'm in this territory. Next year, who knows? I'm going to be in the other territory. So the people that are going to replace me have to have the history. Where's the history? In my head, sometimes I'm leaving the corporation. I'm leaving the company. So you cannot call me. I'm in a competitor. Say Dennis. Oh, it's not like that. So you have to use it. Basic CRM, input everything, and then when we're talking about enterprise sales, we're talking about 10, 20 people involved in the cycle, only in your company sometimes. So when you have all the things, all the information inside the CRM, everyone is in the same page. Because Aaron visit, I visit, you visit, we're going to take the CEO to visit. Where's the information from all of us inside the system? For example, right now, I'm on vacation right now. So the information, if someone's going to call me, I'm not going to answer. So I have to be in the CRM. If I'm moving from Concur to another area, it has to be in the CRM. For the new guy that arriving or my team, when I switch territories, everything will be in place. So sometimes we're looking for AI and all that. Let's go back to basics. We're not using the CRM the right way, so let's use it.
There's no magic, right?
There's no magic.
Yeah, no magic. In there. Magic in other places, maybe.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
But for me, it was perfect. I mean, I really got the point of view, guys. And I'm trying to resume here what we talk. Aaron being mother's relationship, building trust, and understanding things the way you are, reconnecting with our emotions so we can connect to others, right? That's great.
It's a simple way to say it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that for you, record and then use this in the end. And Dennis, thank you very much. It was a class. I've been following you for a long time. Maybe you don't know, but I've seen you speaking about this in other places. But it was happy that today we're able to go deeper in the subject and kind of streamline specific points. So before we go, usually what I do in the end, I ask for you to give me 3 practical steps that someone that deal with longer deals, trying to sell their solution, software, or project, whatever, for big enterprises, and is having a hard time because it's not mapping, it doesn't have more power map, a close plan to close all those things. What could you say a message that you could send for a person that is listen to us in this kind of situation? 3 practical steps.
Yeah. First, start understanding project management. This is the first step. The second one, I always say to the sales team, if you can take therapy, it's good.
If you can, what?
Therapy.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, it's good. So,
okay, I'll wait for you to answer everything. Then I'll re-dive into it because I want to know.
I think therapy, it's good for understanding yourself, understanding others, your triggers.
Yeah.
And all this thing gonna help you in your personal life and then help you in your professional life. So I think it's very useful to take therapy and understand yourself, understand all the reasons that things gonna push you, and that's it. This is a advice that I give all the talks that I do. And the third one, I think, find something that you're good at and find something that you're not good and invite people to help you on those points. For example, you have a large sales cycle, you're going to have a lot of touch points, a lot of process in the sales cycle from the part of the client. You cannot be good at everything. So you have to ask for help. Sometimes the ego gets you to, no, I want to sell everything and I'm the guy. No, I'm the girl. No, it doesn't work this way. So I'm good at this point, I'm going to have this point, and I'm going to hammer this point. All the other issues that I have that I'm not good at, Aaron, please help me. Marcelo, please help me. And I have a huge team to help me. So this is, I think, the 3 advice that that I can give you. Ask for help, therapy, and project management.
Project management. There's a specific order. Would you reorder if you say
Therapy
first?
Therapy first.
Aaron, please.
Yeah, it's good. Also, might say rather than just therapy, because I didn't get much out of therapy myself, but ayahuasca has really worked for me. Some people do, breath work or whatever your version of being able to step outside yourself and learn about yourself is great. I think, essential. I would agree in that point, because I think, no one necessarily wants to talk to a salesperson.
Absolutely. Yep.
They would like to talk to a person or someone who's interesting, who's got something of value or could be funny, but it's just a salesperson. Yeah. So I agree with that. I think too, a lot of people, if you're not just making a priority to kind of get a good night's sleep, some basic what they call exercise or movement, and ideally something like a hobby or something you're really interested in, just for the sake of that activity. Because if you don't have small kids, because then you're just. I think all those things can be kind of foundational to give you. They've worked for me to give you just more. I always call it more energy, but it's just to feel better, to be a bit more alive, and to have more things to talk about, and to be more engaged with myself and then other people, which can translate whether it's to dating or to sales. Could be the same thing sometimes.
It's relationship and overall.
Yeah, it's just, it's again people working with people, whether you're connecting as friends or romantic or like business or.
And when you ask about hobbies, I didn't know Keys My Son was a hobby. As Denis said.
Yes,
Now
it
I
is.
have, and I have a deep one, man. I really do this thing good.
You haven't told us what that next car is you're about to buy.
yeah, man. He's never going to buy unless someone is kissing him. Dennis, someone wants to follow you, know more about your job, how can I find you?
Yeah, Denis.Tassitano on LinkedIn. Yeah. And I do have a podcast that I talk about travel.
Kids?
No, Kissing Kids. Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, I'll be there.
About business travel called Classe Executiva in YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah, about business travel. And that's it. I
have good stories about traveling. I mean, not good, but we'll talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Probably the best is just through the business here, Receita Previsível.com. So they think if they publish things, it's in Portuguese as well, even my stuff. I'm on LinkedIn, just Aaron Ross something. I don't remember the exact title.
Great.
But
great. Guys, really thank you for the time. Aaron, thank you very much. Dennis, it was great to know you a little more. And this was another episode of Vamos de Vendas, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.